Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Guale Origins. Like, share, subscribe. Those are my favorite three words. I do have Yate with me here today. Got Auntie Ani Bozi, right? Clan Mother, Auntie Candy. We have Chai, right? We got Tall Grass with us today. Tonight's bill is going to be a lot of reading. But it's going to deal with the Wale origins from a scholar standpoint. I'm going to go over that Wikipedia link again. I'm using that link because it has some um, great points and it also leaves some great references. So, so Tall Grass, if you want to introduce yourself before we get started tonight, you can go ahead. You got the floor.
Chintamo Itimokleate. I'm Young Warrior Tallgrass, y'all. You know what I'm saying? We in here today. Um, Shout out to Big Bro having me on the platform, man. Natagiaki, you know what I'm saying? Bit Wale.
All right, for sure, for sure. So, I'm running it live. Let me send this link. Let me send this link out, then we can begin. So I'm gonna do another 30-second countdown, and then that's when I'll begin dropping the information. So all right, so that was our quick reset. Let me go ahead and present the first screen to you all. Let's see. Perfect. All right, sending this out. Let me drop this in my IG, and then we can begin. Let's see. Hold up. Message. All right, perfect. So this wiki link is dealing with the Wale. Couple things I want to point out here before we do read this is let me make sure I have this right. Make sure my mic on. We good. All right. Hold up. All right. So it says Wale total population extinct as a tribe. Regions with significant population. Religion animus. So this says animism. Related ethnic groups. Mississippian culture, possibly ancestors of Muskogee peoples. So let's read the history of the Wale. Well, start at language. So it says scholars have not reached a consensus on how to classify the Wale language. Early claims that the Wale spoke a Muskogean language were questioned by historian William C. Servant. He has shown that recorded vocabulary, which sources had believed to be Wale, was Creek, a distinct Muskogee language. Historical references note that the Jesuit brother Domingo Augustin Valles recorded Wale grammar in 1569, but the documents have not been found. The Wale are believed to have been a Mississippian culture group, that had a chiefdom along what is now the Georgia coast in the early period of Spanish exploration. History or prehistory. Archaeological studies, indicate that the predecessors of the historically known Guale lived along the Georgia coast and sea islands from at least 1150 AD. Archaeologists, identified the prehistoric Guale cultures as the Savannah phase and the Irene phase, while the prehistoric ancestors of the Guale shared many characteristics with regional neighbors. They left unique archaeological features that distinguish the Proto-Guale people from other groups. So it says that the Guale built mounds. So the prehistoric people were organized into chiefdoms. They built Mississippian type platform mounds, major earthworks requiring the organized labor of many people, and using highly skilled soil and engineering knowledge. They used the mounds for ceremonial, religious, and burial purposes. Okay, let's see. So effect on health. So it says, after the arrival of Europeans and their intervention in Guale villages, the Guale increased their consumption of corn. Bioarchaeologists tested the levels of C4 molecules in the native bones to determine the corn intake by levels, By comparison, their intake of other foods such as fish, animals, and other plants, etc., decreased. These changes were not for the better, as a corn-dominated diet is poor for overall health. The Guale Indians were forced to work under the Europeans in ways they never had to before. It was intensive labor. Spencer Larson and Christopher Ruff included this based on their analysis in the of the second moments of area on the humerus and femur bones. This is an engineering approach. This is an engineering approach used to show the strength of the bone. They found that there was an increased strength of the bones due to higher repetitive usage, supporting the original statement. Litama and Yamasi amalgamation. All
Come
right.
on, let's talk about it. Crazy. They going crazy. Hey,
In
Wiki
this
know something?
movie, bro. Say what, cuz?
I said, Wiki know something?
They know something, bro. So it says the Indians throughout the American Southeast were drawn to the Spanish mission provinces for their trade in European manufactured goods. Various non-Wale Indians settled in or near the Wale missions during the 17th century. Most were from an Indian province of north central Georgia called Latama by the Spanish. In the 1660s, the well-armed Westo attacked the Latama and neighboring regions, dispersing the Latama in several directions. Some migrated to the lower Chattahoochee River towns of Coweta and Casada, the Appalachian Mission provinces, and the Wale province. The Latama spoke a dialect of Hichiti, a Muskogee language, as did several towns in the Apalachicola province. The Wale language may or may have not been related. So, stopping at this point, because you want to tap in real quick before I do continue, because I'm gonna build on this. I just want to hear if you got anything to say first.
Oh, no, I'm straight. I'm straight. Go ahead.
All right, perfect. So with this, we're gonna walk through this. We're gonna walk through what's actually being explained here. So when we do study the Wale language, what we'll find out is many early scholars, and this is late 1800s and early 1900s, right? Let me tap in here real quick, make sure everybody in. Okay, let me go back to presenting. Let me share this again. One moment. All right. Hold on. Wait. Let me stop it. Then share it. Hold up. One moment. All right. Hold on. All right. So let me pull this up now. I had to switch something off. I had to drop the original live. I'm going to run it regular. Then I'm going to upload it. So it says scholars have not reached a consensus on how to classify the Guale language. So let's see what he has to say about the Guale language. Let me pull up this tab. And this is, what we got going. Okay, here we go. This is called the misconnection of Guale and Yamasee with Muskogee. That pull up itself. All right. So we're going to read this section here first. Let me preview, scroll down. Wait, what's going on now? Oh, here we go. Here go the tab. They're not letting me scroll for some reason. Oh, there we go. All right, so the misconnection of Guale and Yamasee with Muskogee, William C. Servant, Smithsonian Institute. Let me drink some water. One moment. Introduction. In a recent article, Broadwell, 1991, claimed to have discovered new evidence that establishes conclusively that Guale and Yamasee must be recognized as Muskogee languages. He has not done so. I shall show that A, the form that Broadwell cites are simply Creek, not from a language quite close to Creek, and B, there is no evidence that these forms were collected from speakers of Yamasee or Guale. And C, Yamasee and Guale remain nomina neuter in the sense of Girard, 1971. That is, names for which we have no linguistic evidence. Broadwell noticed seven lexical items quoted in a 19th century biographical sketch of Tomochichi, the chief who dealt with the English colonists at Savannah on the coast of Georgia in the 1730s. He compared these forms with modern recordings of Creek and several other Muskogee languages and decided that they are from a language that with Creek forms what he calls Northern Muskogee subgroup, adopting the label from Monroe, 1987, and in fact also from Swanston in 1922. Although the latter put the Guale Indians and Yamasee in his southern division. So what's going on here is when Guale was being classified as Muskogee, what's being explained here is that one, as he said, the verbiage that was used was Creek off the back. So to call it Guale was doing a disjustice to the actual Guale who had their own language. And two, the people that he was speaking to, or they even got this information from, is not a fact that they were Guale or Yamasee speakers. And this is actually being told right here, where it says Broadwell takes his evidence from an account by C.C. Jones, 1868, which is at least 3 steps removed from the primary sources. The passages he cites are in a long quotation that Jones credited to an 1846 pamphlet, which in turn was a reprint of an extract published in English in 1734 from a journal kept in German by Joanne Martin Bozius, or Bozius, right? So here's the thing. When they were classifying Guale as Muskogee, Guale wasn't used at all. It's not that it wasn't a mistake. It was something that they did on purpose. Because if they could classify that language as being Muskogee, then it will give credit of the language and that overall culture to who? So let's read something about the language. And this language is this is dealing with the Yamasi. And this text is by Patrick Johnson. And I'm actually I want to thank him personally for putting this together, because there's not too many places you will find this other than those that know and may not have put together work, or those that may know and may not have published work, right? So it says, while the Yamasi language itself has only been discussed by linguists in terms of its lack of available data, historical documents demonstrate how frequently Yamasi spoke multiple languages, including their own Spanish, Hichiti, Muskogee, and Cherokee. So the Yamasi were multilingual. They weren't just bilingual or trilingual. They were sometimes quadlingual and more, right? So it says the Yamasi spoke Native American languages of the interior rather than Appalachian, Guale, and Timucua languages of Spanish Florida. So to even what I want you to notice is this is going to go somewhere that's very important. Notice how they said that Yamasi spoke multiple languages, including their own. Then it names Hichiti, Kasadi, Muskogee, and Tislagi. So at what point did Hichiti become the lingua franca for the Yamasi? Tall grass, because I know you there. Is that not a great question? Is that not a great question? When did Hichiti become the trade language for the Yamasi? And what language or do the Yamasi today still have their original language and dialects? Now, with this being said, we're going to show him these two languages. You have Guale, right? The language of Guale, language of Timucua, language of Appalachia, and the language of the Yamasi. And this is Spanish. For those who may not know, that is what this is. You know, this is typed in. This is actually Spanish. So the next step that we're going to go to is now. One moment. Let me see something. Okay, I have to one moment. Let me see if I can do this. Okay. Okay, you must have dropped from the stage because I don't know what happened.
Man, I don't know what happened, bro. I've been trying to get you to add me for the longest, boy. Yeah, but that was a good,
My
that was a
bad,
very good
man.
question, bro.
But
Like, when did Hichiti become the lingua franca for the Yamasi? Like, literally, that's like, bro, that's like a golden question right there, bro. Because that would
yeah.
determine a lot.
And this is just building, not breaking down. This is just building on top of the wiki link. You get me? Because I'm gonna show you this right here. This piece right here. Oh, let me go down. That piece right there, what I didn't read yet, I just skipped down, is something in there that we got to go back to at the end of all of this. So y'all ready for part two? This the second. That was the language. Now this the second section. All right. So the effects on health. Now it says bioarchaeologists tested the levels of C4 molecules in the natives' bones to determine the corn intake levels. By comparison, their intake of other foods such as fish, animals, other plants, etc. decreased. These changes were not for the better, as a corn-dominated diet is poor for overall health. Get to the so it says that the those that studied it, Spencer Lawson and Christopher Ruff. What we're going to do is we're going to study some of their work. Put this all the way up so you all can see. This the title, right? Bioarchaeology of the late prehistoric Guale, South End Mound 1, St. Catherine's Island, Georgia. Right? So it says, let's see, by Clark Lawson, right? Spencer Clark Lawson, see. All right, scroll down. It's just this specific point that I needed to go ahead and check off. Matter of fact, let me start from here. So to avoid reading all this in order for me to get to the newspaper, what they're explaining is they were excavating a site and they came up on skulls, about 50 skulls. And in their research, they ran tests on the crane. You know, craniology tests the brain, the skull, they test the teeth. So we're going to find out about the changes that were, the changes that had taken place. And it says this is the first time that they can actually make these comparisons. And it says that analysis, right? It says indicates that the population consumed a variety of terrestrial and marine fauna, along with the significant amounts of maize in their diet. Okay, so it's letting you know that where they are, right? And let's go to the next. This is what I've been looking for. This is what I've been looking for. And now that we have it, let's read it. Let's actually see what the anthropologists have to say. Amina missions held clues to Indian life in 17th century. Okay, let's see. James R. Ward, staff writer. Native Americans are telling anthropologist Clark Lawson and his fellow scientists a number of interesting things about their lives in coastal Georgia and Florida 300 years ago. Although they have been dead for centuries, these Yamasis and Wale Indians are quietly revealing to anthropologists and natural scientists vital information on their diets, their diseases, their occupations, and even to some extent their economic conditions. The Indian legacy that Larson, an anthropologist at Northern Illinois University at DeKalb, Illinois, is studying are bones found at two late 17th century Roman Catholic mission churches on Amina Island. He is working with associates at Florida State Museum at the University of Florida, as well as Harvard and Johns Hopkins universities. Larson, who has recently finished a similar project on Wale Indians, on St. Catherine's Island, Georgia, said that part of the significance of the cemeteries found on southern Amina Island is that the Wale Indians buried there are direct descendants of those who once lived on St. Catherine's Island. One moment. Let me see. Okay, we good. All right. It says the reason the Wales moved from the Georgia coast or the Georgia island to the Florida one was political. So we're getting somewhere. This move that they eventually made, they'll talk about it. After the British settled in the Carolinas 300 years ago, they began to attack the Spanish missions and their allies. the Guale and the Yamasis, and to force them Spanish missionaries excavated the missions of Santa Catalina on St. Catherine's Island and moved to Amina Island in 1686. See, on Amina Island, the Franciscans established a new mission to the north of a mission that had served the spiritual needs of about 40 Yamasi Indians until 1683, when the Spanish governor ordered that the mission to relocate on St. Catherine's Island. The first mission, known as Santa Maria de Yamasi, had been built. Go next. So the Yamasi had been built on the 1670s near present-day Harrison Creek, on the western side of Amina Island within the confines of the Amina Island plantation. In the summer of 1686, the graveyard of the Santa Catalina de San Maria Mission Church was excavated by the Florida State Museum, and the bones of about 175 Guale found there were sent to Larson for a detailed examination. At that time, Larson was completing a similar examination of the skeletal remains of 400 Guale Indians that had been unearthed on St. Catherine's Island. So this is over 500 Guale skeletons, right? Larson said on Amina Island, about 300 bodies were buried either in a cemetery near a mission church or beneath the floor of a second church. There were 123 artificial,
But that's fucked up.
Judy, say that again. Go ahead, cuz.
I just messed up. You feel me? Sound like them folks up north, man.
You know what's going on. So they got 400, then they had the 300, and remember they had the 75, so that's about 775. Then you have 123, which they say are how you say that? How would you say that? Arculated. That's how you say that. Arculated bodies buried in the graveyard. So that's about 800. That's about 900, as well as 50 to 55 more buried in a common pit at the mission of Santa Catalina de Guale de Santa Maria. That Spanish is killing me right now. 100 yards to the south, within the foundation walls of the mission church of Santa Maria de Yamasi, there were 110 to 120 bodies. These graves were excavated by Florida State Museum archaeologists under the direction of Dr. Gerald T. Michelich, the project's director and the museum's curator of archaeology, and Rebecca Saunders, the supervising field archaeologist. In February, Milanich and Sanders will return to the Santa Catalina de Guale site to excavate the site of the mission church under a funding grant from the Florida Division of Resources in Tallahassee. So they're getting funded to actually go. They're actually getting funded to go look at these different sites. You get what I'm saying? Now, the headline of this that I did skip, it says Guale diet worsened under Spanish rule. So let's continue reading what these great anthropologists have to say about this. All right. There may have originally been more individuals buried at Santa Maria de Yamasi, Larson said, but the encroachment of Harrison Creek resulted in the introduction and erosion between 20 and 50 other graves within the church itself. So with the river growing, right, it's removing a lot of the bodies. A lot of that stuff is falling in the water. No one knows how many graves were lost in the creek, which borders a salt marsh. the Wale Indians lived on Alamina Island between 1686 and 1702, when a brief British invasion forced the Spanish to relocate again, this time closer to St. Augustine. So the Wale Indians were forced to move because of British invasion. And that invasion was not limited to the British. It says here, let me go back to where we were. Pardon me. So it says 1686, right? Um, let's let's talk about this real quick. One moment. I'm going to go over 1661 in the struggle for the Georgia coast. It's just a couple things that I need to read out of here. And it's talking about the invasion of the Chichimiko, right? So it says that more than 500 men among Indians and other nations that use firearms had descended in rafts and canoes through the river of Santa Yasvel and had empowered the said town. So it says as many as 200 canoes and rafts carrying between 500 and 2,000 Chichimiko warriors armed with firearms descended the modern Altamaha River from the interior of Georgia and attacked the first town of Wale, Talaja, right? So now, if they attack our land, this is the Chichimiko, right? This is 1661. This is 8 years before the said invasion or removal of Wale to Florida. So
True.
Wale was already being attacked. Wale was already under attack. Now, one place that let me see if I can point this out. Let me try to go up real quick so I can point this out. Um, because it's going to tell us another place where this was heavy. This wasn't just let me see if I can find this for a moment. See. All right, here we go. So it says the Chichimiko had relocated by early April of 1663. The friars of Wale reported that the Chichimiko had left the place where they were living when they descended to this said province of Wale. So they left the interior and descended on Wale and went much further away to the mouth of another river by which one can only descend upon the province of Kofachiqui, or that of Askamuku, distant from this province of Wale. Kofachiqui, this is the ancient town that De Soto was looking for. And the present day Yuchi, they will tell you they don't know nothing about that town. It's because that wasn't them. Now it says this location would place the Chichimiko south of the deep interior province of Kofachiqui in central South Carolina. So the original Kofachiqui, the original Yupa, the original Iguale, right, or Uguale are the Kofachiqui, are the Wale. That's us. So in our place of residence, someone hired the Westo to come attack us and push us further away from our lands. So let's go back to reading what it says here. And that's earlier. This right here happened in 61. Now, the dagger is the arrival of the Yamasi. And that's where you read about the people coming from the interior, and you have the Chichimiko end up settling in proximity of the original Wale people. Now it says not only did the friars report that the Chichimiko had retreated deeper into the interior, but also that the province of Askamuku, bordering Wale on the north, was at that time completely populated by a group of Indians known as Yamasis, stretching across the mainland all the way from the village of Colon to the place called Uachi Esklaku. So once our land was taken over and people were pushed all different ways, and this is 1662, it is possible that refugees from nearby town of Hayachi also retreated to Santa Catalina simultaneously, although the following spring this location was noted to be inhabited by members of a new group of Indians called Yamasi.
Oh
So
man.
this isn't me making this up, but
There are
what
lots of people
happens
like
when,
that.
yeah, that's a fact, cuz that's an actual fact.
Come on, man.
That's an actual fact. One moment. Let me see if I could I think they spell it this way. All right. One moment. And this right here now, this page was very important. This is something I talked about before. This is the 1681 census of Guale and Makoma. So we already have read. Let me bring this down. We've already have read that in 1668 we were put, between 1668 and 1702. So we talked about 61, 62, 68. We didn't talk about. Let me see if I can. Matter of fact, let me talk about this before 68. So this is simply a census, and it says the following document is a notary Castilla 17 of the provinces of Guale and Makoma in June of 1681. It says, by order of then Governor Don Juan Marquez Cabrera, detailing the exact number of Indians in each Aboriginal village within Guale and Makoma, including information on the relative location of each village. Okay, so these are Guale and Makoma towns, but then you will begin to notice that these people are outnumbered. Look at this. You have Sapala, Tupiqui, Sakuhachi, right? Santa Catalina. These are different towns. But notice in these towns, the Yamasi outnumber the original Guale people per town, per person by town, right? Now you go down, you have more Yamasi than what they call the Guadalquani, right? Or the one island of Guale. Here you have San Pedro, which may outnumber Guale or the Yamasi, excuse me. And then you have your numbers here. Here go the certification. So this is the actual letter. This is the actual paper, right? So it says, say that the aggregation of the Yamasi, they spelled Yamasi with a C, Indians. It says, on the point of this island, at least 2 leagues distant south, are the pagan Yamasi. Okay, so here we go. More. This is the adult population. Let me slow it down. So you have here, this is a dagger. They mention the Cherokee at this time, or the people of a different speech. Here they also mention the language of Guale, right? So we see that the Guale have been getting pushed in for a long time. This isn't nothing new. They've been getting pushed out their land for a long time. Now, he says next that, and we're going back to the foodways. He says, Larson said that the Yamasi who were buried in the church had several dental problems. There is a high incidence of periodical disease, a disease, periodontal. There it says periodontal. So that deals with the teeth. All right, periodontal disease, a disease including involving the gum. See, I was close. Gum tissue and bone surrounding the teeth, Larson said. The periodontal disease provides us with evidence that at this time, the diet of these Indians was primarily corn, maize, and other carbohydrates. So they have gum disease, their teeth were fucked up, were messed up. All of this because of corn. Larson is being assisted in this study of the bones by Margaret Schoeniger, an anthropologist at Harvard University in Cambridge, Massachusetts,
And
and
might I add,
Christopher Ruff, a professor. Talk to me, cuz. Go ahead. Talk to me. Let's
might I
build.
add, you know what I'm saying? This like one of the first references of corn being, you know what I'm saying, a defect when it comes to indigenous culture, you know what I'm saying? Like most nations gonna, you know, praise it and tell you, you know,
Right.
how it benefited them and how they got it, and you know the
Right.
significance
Facts.
of it and their culture, but none of them will tell you what Nital telling you right now. You know what I'm saying? None of them will tell you how it is detrimental. You feel me? And it was detrimental to at least our population. You feel me?
Actual fact. Let me light the sage so I can reset my brain.
Come on, man.
Reset. All right. So let's get it. Here we go. Now it says Miss Schoeniger is identifying trace elements in the bones of Indians for evidence of their diet, Larson said. Ruff is studying the mechanics of the bones, the physical demands that were made on the body, Larson said. So everyone has their specialty. Everyone is doing their part to bring this together so we can understand why Wale diet ruined under Spanish rule. Okay, they done gave us a piece. By studying cross sections of the bones and applying engineering principles, we can understand the forces that cause the bones to thicken and the manner and locations in which they did. Here we go. The bones of a hunter would show thickening that reflected the type of work that he did. And the bones of a person who harvested corn, acorns, or wild berries would indicate the work that he did. Larson said that the bones are all being measured to determine the height of the Guale on Alameda Island, to determine the effects of their diet, and to determine how these bones relate to those of their forebearers found on St. Catherine's Island. He said that another way in which bone measurements can be used is the study of hyperplasia, hyperplasia, the effects of diet and diseases that arrest the development of bones or teeth of an individual. Dagger, here we go. When a child is growing and suffers a disease or malnutrition, the growth stops until the disease disappears or the famine that caused the malnutrition ends. When the growth begins again, we can measure the time between the onset of the illness or the malnutrition and the return to health of the given individual. In a few instances, or excuse me, in a few instances, it has even been possible for us to determine the disease suffered by a mother during a pregnancy by the effects evident on the teeth of her unborn child. Let's read this again. In a few instances, right? It says, um, it it had I don't have my contacts in. It has even been possible for us to determine the disease suffered by a mother during a pregnancy by the effects evident on the teeth of her unborn child. So if a woman was to have a miscarriage today or even a stillbirth, archaeologists can take that baby's teeth and see what type of diet or even diseases the mother encountered during pregnancy. This is a science above comprehension for a lot of people. This is a science above comprehension for a lot of people. Now let's finish off this. Let's finish this off and we can continue on. It says these effects can also be seen on the teeth of children up to 6 years of age. By studying the bones and teeth, it is possible to determine how frequently famines as well as epidemics of measles or smallpox occurred during the early life of an individual. Larson said that it's also possible through the study of hypoplasia to determine if these periods of stress were long or short. Quote, we can tie it down to a week, a couple of weeks, or a couple of months, he said. He said that some of the burials on St. Catherine's Island are from the prehistoric period. So we're talking about bones that date back 10, 20, 30,000 years. In this period, Larson said, the Indians were virtually disease-free. However, in the historic period, he said that there is a high frequency of widespread disease. Larson said there is no evidence of syphilis in the New World as a New World disease, which was subsequently introduced to Europe from the Americas. Syphilis seems to have appeared independently in both the Americas and Europe between 1400 and 1500. Now, the reason he put that in there is because scientists will tell you that Europeans got syphilis from Native Americans, but those who know where it came from. Now, let's think about this. Cuz, you there? Tallgrass, you there, brother? Let me see. Oh, he ended up dropping. Let me add Monte to the stage. Monte here. Monte, what's going on with you?
What's up? What's up, brother?
Um, everything. So I was just tapping in with you. I thought Tallgrass was still in. I think bro's dropped. Hold on, let me make sure. Yeah, he texted me. Hold on.
Hold on, let me see.
One moment. You can mute your mic, cuz I'm about to start back
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Hold on, I'm about to fade and then mute it.
All right, let me get up here. We're gonna present, share screen. Now, the next thing we're gonna talk about is the corn, being that, let me see, we go here, the evolution. All right, so this is corn or maize in its different stages. Now, we've already just spoken on how maize affected the Wale diet, being that the Wale were no longer eating off the land and began to supplement their diets with more of corn or maize. Their bones became, or their jaws, right? Their bones, their teeth, all of this began to become completely different. And when we look at maize and we study the origin of maize, we realize why that effect on the Wale was so detrimental, why it was so hard on these people. Let's see if I could refresh this, if it'll pop up. This is the history. Okay. Let's see. And all references will be in the description if you can't see them with the screen share. Specifically to an area that includes present-day Mexico and Central America. Corn is also known as maize and Zea maize, was domesticated by indigenous people in this region thousands of years ago and has a rich history as a staple crop that has deeply influenced societies worldwide. So corn in itself does not originate in the place where the Wale themselves originate. we've noticed that under Spanish rule, and we've read that Wale diet began to deteriorate because of this crop and the things that they encountered in their daily lives, right? Now, what I do want to also speak on is this, right? Outside of that, some effects that corn actually has on the body, they kicked me off my own video again. They say that StreamYard is not working. Can y'all hear me? Can somebody tap in and say they can hear me?
I'm in here.
All right, bet, bro. Cause I don't know what in the world going on. So with that, I was right. The Anna Flexius. So with that being said, we go back to the article. We understand overall, as they had titled here, Wale diet worsened under Spanish rule. But not only did the diet worsen under Spanish rule, those of us that faced the invasion of the British, I'm gonna go back and show you all this who didn't see it, that we faced at the hands of the British. That did nothing but weaken us, right? And in weakening the Wale, what it also did was completely change the way they ate. It changed the way they live. It changed the way they thought. And I'm gonna see if I can find something here for you all to read, where I can pull up where they were actually talking about um, the raid, where they were talking about this raid, regrouping to the south. Now, during the raid of Wale, what's not often told, right? What's often neglected A moment, let me get it out of there. Let me close this. What's often neglected is the fact that, let me see if I can share this for y'all. War is usually neglected because though the anthropologists spoke on it, not too many actually know where to go to read the text. And this book right here gives you exactly who was doing the dirt. 1861 invasion of the Westo. What people don't really know is that some Yamasi also invaded too. And those Yamasi that had invaded were the Altamaha. Let's see if we can find that here, where they were actually paid. They were paid to enslave the Guale and Timucua. One moment. Let me see if this will come up. That won't come up. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. The Yamasis had entered into a contract with the Scottish, the sons, and cutlasses as, price of the slaves they would bring back with them. The slaves were taken to Stewartstown, where some were sold to an Englishman from Charlestown, and the rest to an Irish ship bringing more colonists. So they were shipping out indigenous people. These Yamasi, right? This specific group of Yamasi were shipping out indigenous people and replacing them with Europeans. So when I said, hey, the Yamasi was removing the Guale off their own lands and using and replacing us with Europeans, doing us dirty. Oh, these are our lands by rights of conquest, but then you sell it over, right? You just you sell our shit. So at what point do we say, damn, do the Yamasi really, or do the Yamasi really belong on the coast? Or better yet, because some do, does the coast belong to the Yamasi? The answer is no. The answer is no. So when these Guale people were being pushed away, when they were being slaughtered, the diet was already bad, they lost their language, they're being enslaved, their lands getting raided. So the next thing, and this is what we're going to end with, this is the dagger. Tallgrass mentioned something earlier about corn. Please, whoever is that, I need you to mute. Tallgrass mentioned something about corn, and he was like, every nation always talk about corn, and that's our lifesaver, this, but corn to the Guale was detrimental to our diet. And I'm gonna close off as I go, right? Corn was detrimental to our ancestors' diet. Maize was detrimental to our ancestors' diet. And with it being something that wasn't for us, right? With it being something that started in South America, right? That's why it was terrible. It wasn't something indigenous to the indigenous people of the Southeast. Now, here in red is what we end with. It's talking about the corn stories, right? It says that myths accounting for the origin of corn are common among and the supports a stronger emphasis on the horticulture among the Alabamas and Muskogee. The Yuchi have no origin story or no creation story for corn, right? The Yuchi have no origin story or creation story for corn. Now, at what point do the Yuchi of today is, if you are originally from the Southeast, how is corn one of your original sisters when corn wasn't first cultivated till about 11,000 years ago in the West? It didn't get here until much later, which helped create the ceremony green corn. So with that being said, I'm going to show a few stories, right? The origin of corn and tobacco. This is via Muskogee. And you will know story, Muskogee again. So what I will say, and to end this, the conclusion of this is, when we deal with Guale culture, when we deal with Guale perspective, we have to look at it from the eyes of the Guale. Corn was the enemy. The intruders from the interior were the enemy, because these same people enslaved our Timucua cousins. They enslaved us, and they enslaved their own people. Eventually, there will be a build on the different groups of people that we've been dealing with. However, I do want to make a priority to focus on us. When we focus on us, we have to focus on our life ways, our food ways, our language, and our culture. The way we study, how we study our culture, how we deal in politics and economics, all of that deals with the Wale. All of that deals with those people um, that are on the southern edge, right? That people that live where summer is, the children of the sun, those up high, those above, right? And when we study that and we become that again, right, as family, when we study that and we get our family to look at things like this, like, wow, this is why our life may be the way it is, because the way we eat. So with that, I thank you all for allowing me to share time with you. And that will be everything for me for tonight. I will ask the panel if they have any questions or would like to chime in. We can have a free build to actually finish the video out. So you all can open your mic and speak freely if you wish.
In the bill, any questions on medicine or anything like that, tap in.
Ain't none. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna upload this. I'm gonna run it back on YouTube so it can play better. As opposed to how it did this morning, it was taking a lot of views from me. And it'll also allow me to interact with the people on there. So I'm about to actually post this now, so it's gonna be running live. All of y'all that joined, I thank y'all. Much love.